Chairman, we're now streaming live on YouTube, so you can begin the meeting.
Yeah, right, okay. Good afternoon, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this first virtual meeting of the Licensing Committee. I'm Councillor Pickett, Chairman of the Licensing Committee, and Councillor Deborah Evans is my Vice Chairman. I would also like to, before we start, welcome Councillor Rush isn't here, but Councillor Astley and Councillor Wellborn. Welcome to the meetings. Before the meeting starts, can I ask that a roll call be taken of members and officers attending, please, Jeanette?
Thank you, Chairman. If members could please indicate your presence. Councillor Tom Ashton.
Present.
Councillor Alison Austin.
Present.
Councillor Bell.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Anton Danny.
Present.
Councillor Deborah Evans.
Present.
Councillor Neil Hasty.
Present.
Councillor Brian Rush, I believe, is absent. Councillor Stephen Woodliffe.
Present.
Councillor Judith Wellborn.
Present.
And officers attending, Licensing and Land Charges Manager Fiona White.
Present.
Hi, Fiona.
Democratic Services Apprentice Pippa Rose. Are you present, Pippa?
I am.
Thank you. And myself, Jeanette Collier, clerk for the meeting. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Right, part one of the preliminaries. Firstly, can we deal with the preliminaries? Have I the committee's permission to sign the minutes of the meeting held on the 11th of August 2020?
Councillor Alison Austin is indicating, Chairman.
Yes, I'm agreed.
No one else is indicating, Chairman.
Right, thank you. If there are any comments, please use the raise hands facility. If no comments, I will assume you are all in agreement with mid-sign.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Are there any apologies?
Yes, Chairman, there are apologies for absence from Councillor Judith Skinner.
Okay. Do any members wish to declare any interest in respect of any item on the agenda?
No one is indicating, Chairman.
Or are there any questions from the members of the public?
There are none, Chairman.
Yeah. Right, part two of the agenda. We'll now move to part two of the agenda, and the sole item of the business of this meeting, the Licensing Act of 2003 draft statement of the licensing policy, which starts on page 5 of the agenda pack. This is a report by Fiona White, the Licensing and Land Charges Manager, and I'll hand over to Mrs. White to present her report.
Thank you, Chairman. I am aware since we were last here that we have got one or two new members of the committee. So just as a little bit of a sort of précis of what's gone on before, although that is reflected in the minutes. This is all about our licensing policy, which we do every 5 years. That was previously considered by the committee on the 11th of August and then went out for consultation. So the purpose of today's meeting is to bring that report back to this committee following the consultation. So that's just an overview of sort of how we've got where we are today, Chairman. So the Licensing Act does require us to carry out our functions in accordance with the legislation with a view to promoting the licensing objectives of the prevention of crime and disorder, the prevention of public nuisance, public safety and the protection of children from harm. And as I've said, Section 5 of the Licensing Act requires the licensing authority every 5 years to review its policy. Our last policy was adopted in 2015, and it is, in accordance with the legislation, a requirement that the adoption is undertaken by full council. It cannot be delegated to this committee. You considered a draft policy on the 11th of August and made some amendments to it. The copy of the policy, which is attached at Appendix B, is that draft that went out for consultation that included any amendments that were made at the meeting on the 11th of August. So that's been amended from the original that you considered at the last meeting. Having considered that on the 11th of August, the policy did go out for consultation. That took place between the 12th of August and the 16th of October. And a small number of responses were received. And I'll go through those responses one by one in a moment. Once I've gone through the responses, then I would request that the committee do make any final amendments to the draft, probably in line with those consultation responses and anything else that you consider appropriate. And then I further make a recommendation that the draft statement of licensing policy be presented to the council on the 23rd of November with a recommendation from this committee that it be adopted. If I can just turn, please, to page 11 of the agenda, which is Appendix A, and you'll see that we have had some responses, albeit quite small in number. And if it's all right with you, Chairman, I'll go through those one by one. The first response we received was from the Framework Housing Association Service Manager, who kindly pointed out to us that at Section 15, paragraph 4.10 of the policy, we'd retained reference to Challenge 21 and Challenge 25, whereby in other parts of the policy, the committee considered removing Challenge 21 from our policy and just retaining the Challenge 25. Thereby, this council's policy would be that we would expect people to adopt the Challenge 25 process, whereby anyone under the age or appears to be under the age of 25 would be asked to produce age identification. Taking the view that Challenge 21 was quite a low threshold to be asking people who looked under 21 rather than 25. The committee supported this. However, in the drafting, one of the references to Challenge 21 hadn't been removed, this being at the aforementioned paragraph 4.10 on page 15. And therefore, I would like to make the recommendation to the committee that we amend that paragraph to remove Challenge 21 from it, or just the numbers 21, and therefore the policy will refer to Challenge 25 all the way through. So that was a drafting error for which I apologise. The second, number 2, came from the Principal Environmental Health Officer. This was something that was raised at the committee meeting on the 11th of August. It did used to be in the Section 182 statutory guidance. However, after that meeting, I went back and checked that guidance and it's now being removed. So that suggests possibly that other people have found the wording ambiguous, and that wording being that the licensing authority acknowledges that the views of vocal minorities should not be allowed to predominate over the general interests of the community. Like the committee on the 11th, the Principal Environmental Health Officer was also concerned that this could be interpreted as for example, one neighbour or one resident suffering from antisocial behaviour. Their complaint could be regarded where the source is, for example, from a premises that serves the wider community. It is my view that this concern is justified because now 2 people, or the committee and an expert pollution officer, have raised that it could be ambiguous, and therefore I'd like to recommend to the committee that we actually remove that paragraph, being paragraph 5.10, from the policy, thus preventing any ambiguity when you're decision making in hearings or for the public in the future. The third response came from Alderkirk Parish Council, who said that the parish had looked at the policy and they had no comments to make. Another response was received from the community safety manager at Boston Borough Council, who said it once again looks a very concise policy that makes it clear for everyone to see how decisions are made and that the prevailing legislation and guidance used to make those decisions. Obviously, there's no amendment required to the policy for that particular comment, as there isn't for the previous one from Alderkirk Parish Council. And the final response that was received came from the Assistant Director of Planning, who said they had no comments to make on this. So really, Chairman, it's just the first two responses that need consideration by the committee. One, to remove the number 21 from paragraph 4.10, and also to delete paragraph 5.10 from the policy. If the committee would like to give consideration to those recommendations, and then if you're happy to make those amendments or not, as the case may be, then I will produce the final draft statement of licensing policy with all the red text removed, ready for full council, with the recommendation I'm making to the committee that you agree it be presented on the 23rd for the policy to be adopted and then take immediate effect. Thank you, Chairman.
I'll open this up for debate and questions. If any member wishes to speak, can you please indicate using your raise hand facility? Thank you.
Councillor Alison Austin is indicating, Chairman.
Councillor Austin, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Could I just confirm with Fiona on in relation to the first one, the framework response in 4.4.10, that when I look at that, in fact, on two occasions, it says the challenge 21/25. And I assume on both of those, once, if you like, is at the word, well, where it says challenges 21 and 25, as sort of like a, not quite a subtitle, but then it goes on to say supports the adoption of challenge and 21/25. The second one, we're clearly getting rid of the word, the number 21. Are we where it says challenges? Or are we just putting challenge 25?
My proposal, Chairman, is where it says challenges 21/25 to amend that to challenge 25. Yeah. And the second one, it says supports the adoption of, for that to just read challenge 25.
Thank you. I was just making sure they were both being dealt with. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Are there any more questions?
Councillor Anton Danny is indicating, Chairman.
Councillor Danny, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to support Fiona on that amendment, and I think I will second her proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman, we'll take that as a proposal then. Councillor Tom Ashton is indicating, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Just picking up on what Councillor Danny has just said, and appreciating that Fiona can't formally move. If we accept that Councillor Danny makes that his proposal rather than acting as a seconder, then I'm very happy to second.
Then I will do that. I will take that opportunity. Thank you, Councillor Ashton, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Should I take the vote, Chairman?
If you will, Chair, please.
Thank you. No one else is indicating the wish to speak, so it's been proposed and seconded that the policy be approved as set out, as recommended by the officer, with the amendments shown in the appendix. I'll read out members' names alphabetically again. If you could just indicate whether you're voting for, against, or wish to abstain. Councillor Tom Ashton.
For.
Councillor Alison Austin,
For.
Councillor Alan Bell, Councillor Bell,
He is muted.
I'll come back to Councillor Bell. Mr Mayor, Councillor Danny,
4.
Councillor Deborah Evans, Councillor Neil Hasty,
Or.
yourself, Chairman,
Or.
Councillor Brian Rush,
Abstain.
Councillor Stephen Woodliff,
For.
Councillor Judith Wellborn,
Or.
Councillor Bell, can you hear me? You're muted. Did you wish to vote? No, we're not able to connect to, he may well have lost his connection, Chairman, but that's clearly carried.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, that's about the shortest meeting I've ever been to. That concludes this meeting. And I thank you all for your attendance.
Oh.
Mhm.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I'll end the stream on YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you.